ever wonder where these lockdowns came from? Shutting down entire cities, states, and towns was somehow going to prevent the spread of an airborne virus. You may say, well, clearly there was some science on it. I mean, obviously, right? I mean, government's full of super smart people. Nah, you'd be wrong about that. Came from China. The idea of a complete economic lockdown was nowhere in the science anywhere, ever. Republicans and Democrats, let's be candid. They saw what China did. They loved it. They felt like they could use the crisis because fear is their coin of the realm, and they did it. I don't think it's any more complicated than that.
Lift up your heads. See an ash of canvas splattered red.
The Wall Street Journal publishing a new article today titled Prosecutors Advance Tax Probe of Hunter Biden. But do you guys get the feeling that this whole tax investigation is just a diversion away from more serious crimes? Charges that could implicate other members of the family, like the big guy. Jim Trusty is a former DOJ prosecutor.
From the get-go, all the public reporting we've seen about the laptop, it all smells like a much bigger case than tax evasion. It smells like possibly Foreign Agent Registration Act, Foreign Corrupt Practices Act, money laundering. I mean, big, weighty federal charges that are really indicative of a pay-for-play kind of scheme. And you have these trial balloons about tax cases coming out. It smells like something where there's going to be a little bit of DOJ collusion to come to a very soft ending in this case.
Wow, so Hunter, after all this, could end up with no jail time.
This is very, very bad for the president's son.
Right now, prosecutors in Delaware are focusing on whether Hunter Biden violated laws, including tax and money laundering laws and foreign lobbying laws. A lot of this has to do with Hunter Biden's time working with this company called Burisma, an energy company in Ukraine. He was getting paid as much as $50,000 a month for that company during a time that Joe Biden, his father, was vice president, was in charge of handling Ukraine issues. And that, of course, raised questions of a conflict.
The president just did it again. Biden contradicting himself and his own White House today after spending the weekend trying to walk back these comments on Putin's removal.
For God's sake, this man cannot remain in power.
Mr. President, were you calling for regime change?
No.
Wow. All right, but just hours ago, Biden claiming none of what you just heard him say is actually true.
Nobody believes we're going to take down. I was talking about taking down Putin. Nobody believes that.
It's our fault for, like, we didn't hear any of that other stuff. We just heard him say he cannot remain in power. So that's on us. Of course he didn't mean it.
Disney has gone beyond woke. You can see it for yourself. Leaked footage of an executive meeting that they just had about the Florida Parental Rights Bill or the Anti-Grooming Bill was just posted online by Christopher Rufo, where, and this is their terminology, they say that they're going full steam ahead with the, quote, gay agenda.
They've been really open to exploring queer stories. Kind of the only way to have these like canonical trans characters, canonical asexual characters, canonical bisexual characters is to give them stories where they can like be their whole selves.
Here's Disney's president of general entertainment content.
I'm here as a mother of two queer children, actually, one transgender child and one pansexual child.
She wants at least 50% of all characters to be LGBTQIA+ or racial minority.
But with that said, we do not want to overlook the extreme extraordinary successes going on with the Patriot movement all across the nation, particularly in red states that are making our nation a far more conservative, Patriot-based nation like never before. Let's start in the great state of Arizona. Their Republican Governor Doug Ducey signed into law yesterday a bill banning transgender athletes from participating in women's sports throughout the state, and another bill banning abortions after 15 weeks of pregnancy. He also signed into law limits on so-called gender reassignment surgery, requiring that the patient must be of adult age. Ducey's also signed into law a bill requiring proof of citizenship in order to vote. A new bill, in fact, expressly states that it is the Arizona legislature that would alone have the power to award presidential electors, not secretaries of state, not even the governor. Next to South Dakota, where Governor Kristi Noem has just signed into law a ban on so-called Zuckbucks. This is where Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg poured in tens of millions of dollars into elections across the country to tilt the races to the Democrat candidates. And what Zuckerberg basically did is he bribed state officials by giving them, quote, donations, and these so-called donations are now banned. Onward to Oklahoma. Governor Kevin Stitt just signed into legislation Oklahoma's own ban on transgender athletes. Let's go over to Kansas. Their state senate there just passed their own bill banning transgender athletes. And we're seeing something similar in the great state of Kentucky. A comparable ban was passed overwhelmingly by the state House and Senate in Utah. In the great state of Idaho, their governor just signed a Texas-style abortion law. What Texas passed several months back is what's commonly called a heartbeat bill. And by the way, Texas is not alone in that. Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, Kentucky, South Carolina, a number of states have passed heartbeat law. We also have a number of constitutional carry laws being enacted. Over into the state of Indiana, they're now officially the 24th state to institute a constitutional carry law. That bill was just signed into law. And in Georgia, the state house has just overwhelmingly passed constitutional carry. In Alabama, the state house has just passed a ban on teaching critical race theory in all Alabama public schools. And of course, to top it all off, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis signed the monumental parental rights bill that has caused the woke, ultra-leftist ideologues over at Disney to become utterly unhinged. So what's going on here? Why are we winning here? You know, this wasn't supposed to happen. With the supposed defeat of the Don in 2020, the nation was supposed to go back to the happy-clappy leftist days of the Obama era. What happened? What's going on? Well, in a word, you happened. You are the heart of this revolt against all things woke. If you, the patriots of our nation and the world, if you didn't rise up and make your voice heard, if you didn't demand more from your representatives, if you didn't show up to those school board meetings, if you didn't vote and volunteer, then none of this would be happening.
Men and women who have volunteered to serve and protect their communities as members of the United States military have been under attack by their own government for over a century, experimented on like laboratory animals with mustard gas, plutonium, Agent Orange, and depleted uranium. But what we are experiencing now is the final destruction of the entire U.S. military from within. Attorney at law Todd Callender, who is representing the U.S. Navy SEALs versus President Joe Biden, has recently reported an 1,100% increase in U.S. military deaths, and based on their latest data, they expect this number to soon rise above 5,000%. The Department of Defense knew what they were doing, and the proper charges are genocide,